They thought she was just a teenager until she took down a corrupt judge in court. You ever have one of those mornings where something in your gut tells you the world's about to flip upside down? That's how it started for 16-year-old Imani Daniels. A storm was brewing over Montgomery County, Texas, not just in the sky, but inside the county courthouse. The wind howled as she stepped out of the city bus, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her hoodie pulled tight. She didn't look like someone who was about to make history, but that was the point. She adjusted her wire-framed glasses, tightened the strap of her satchel, and walked up the marble steps of Montgomery County Courthouse like she belonged there. Most people assumed she was just a nervous teenager, maybe there to support a family member, maybe there by mistake, but Imani had orchestrated every moment of what was about to unfold. The courtroom was packed. A local narcotics trial had been rescheduled, and the calendar had stacked cases into one long, suffocating session. Sitting high on the bench was Judge Roger T. Harlan, a man infamous for his sweeping judgments, unchecked power, and a reputation for cleaning up the city by any means necessary. What most people didn't know, however, was that his courtroom had become a funnel of injustice for years. Bribes, coerced confessions, sealed plea deals that mysteriously vanished. And today, it was Imani's turn to be put through that same system. Or so the judge thought. Case number 09281. The bailiff announced, the state versus Imani Daniels. Heads turned, some eyebrows lifted. A few chuckled. Judge Harlan peered over his half-moon glasses at the girl standing at the defendant's table. She looked so small compared to the towering ceiling beams, the towering stacks of legal files, and the towering man on the bench. Miss Daniels, he said, his voice echoing, do you even understand the charges against you? Or are you just here to waste this court's time? Imani didn't flinch. I understand them clearly, Your Honor, she said. But I also understand something more dangerous is happening in this courtroom. A wave of murmurs rippled across the gallery. Judge Harlan's lips curled. Let me guess. You're going to deliver a speech about justice. Is that it? Look, unless you've got a degree in law, hiding in that backpack, take your seat and let the adults work. The gallery chuckled again, but Imani didn't. Instead, she reached into her satchel and pulled out a sleek black leather portfolio. Her hands didn't tremble. Her voice didn't waver. I do, actually. She opened the folder. Inside was a gold-embossed certificate from the Texas Advanced Legal Institute, proving her completion of a joint college program that had granted her early legal certification. Alongside it, a court-ordered authorization from the State Judicial Oversight Board, deputizing her as a special legal investigator. The room froze. Someone gasped. I'm here under directive to investigate judicial misconduct, she said, locking eyes with Judge Harlan. And from where I stand, I don't need a robe to see what's broken. The room exploded into a cacophony of whispers, camera clicks, and collective disbelief. Judge Harlan's gavel slammed down hard. This is a stunt. You're a child. Imani stepped forward. No, Your Honor. I'm what happens when the system ignores its victims for so long, they start learning the rules to fight back. And with that, she laid out the case. Exhibit by exhibit. She outlined how Judge Harlan had dismissed critical evidence, how he'd passed judgment without due process, and how the conviction rate for minority defendants in his courtroom was 82% higher than in neighboring jurisdictions. She presented sworn affidavits from court staff, anonymous whistleblower tips, and most damning of all, a sealed transcript from a closed-door meeting where the judge admitted to manipulating sentencing outcomes. "Where did you get this?" Harlan barked. "From your office," Imani said calmly. "Your assistant left a paper trail longer than your conviction list." The judge was livid. "You think this little game will work?" he roared. "This is entrapment." Imani pulled out a compact recorder. "Actually, Your Honor, this is discovery." She hit play. The judge's voice filled the room. "These people don't need fairness. They need fear. And if I have to bend a few rules to keep the streets clean, I'll do it. No one's gonna stop me." Shock gasps, camera flashes, the gallery erupted. Harlan's defense attorneys leapt to their feet. "Objection. This is illegal." "No," Imani said. "This is necessary." Reporters were already streaming out of the room to file breaking stories. The courtroom had transformed into the very stage Imani had planned for months. A stage not just for justice, but for revolution. But victory wasn't free. That night, threats were made. A brick shattered her mother's car window. Anonymous calls lit up their landline. People told her to stop. Even her older brother Elijah, who had been wrongfully imprisoned by Harlan years ago, begged her to back down. "You already did enough," he said. "You made your point." But Imani knew it wasn't enough until Harlan was off that bench, and every person he'd hurt had a chance to be heard. Then something unexpected happened. A sealed file surfaced anonymously delivered to Imani's doorstep. It contained financial ledgers showing secret payments tied to Harlan's rulings, encrypted emails between him and private prison executives, and a list of still active cases rigged for profit. Inside the envelope was one line handwritten: "The bench is bigger than the man. Finish it." This wasn't just about removing Harlan. It was about uprooting a network. Imani took it straight to the Attorney General's office. What followed was the largest corruption probe in Texas court history. 17 legal officials indicted. 3 private prison contracts revoked. A new law passed, mandating digital recording of all judicial communications. 1 week after the indictments were unsealed, a national news outlet released exclusive footage of Imani's courtroom takedown. Overnight, she became a symbol of resilience, interviewed on morning shows, honored at civil rights conferences, and even offered full scholarships from multiple Ivy League universities. But through it all, Imani stayed grounded. Her focus remained on the people still caught in the system. She worked with legal aid groups, volunteered to help wrongly convicted inmates, file appeals, and launched a nonprofit legal mentorship program for youth in underserved communities. The real twist came during one of her mentoring sessions, when a quiet boy from a foster home handed her a hand-drawn picture. It showed her standing on the courthouse steps, holding a glowing scale of justice with a caption, "She made the law listen." She wept. And 1 year later, Imani Daniels stood on the steps of that same courthouse, not as a defendant, not even as a legal prodigy, but as the youngest ever appointed state justice reforms officer. This isn't just a story about a courtroom. It's about what happens when someone refuses to be silenced. When a young voice challenges not just a man, but a system. When courage doesn't come from age, but from conviction. So if you believe in the power of truth, if you've ever felt underestimated, if you know what it's like to fight harder just to be heard, This story is for you. Like this video. Subscribe for more real stories where justice doesn't wait. Because change doesn't come from silence. It comes from people like you and like Imani Daniels, who walked into the lion's den and made it listen.